Thank you, Dr. Rolika, for the introduction. I thank AOS for providing me this opportunity to speak to you on the pearls in the interpretation of visual field effects in glaucoma. So when we look at a visual field, what we are trying to find out is uh, there's a decrease in the retinal sensitivity, whether it is there or not. And if it is there, what is the degree of decrease in retinal threshold? That is how much. And where is it located? We are bothered about where it is located. If it's very far in the periphery, we're not bothered. But if it's very close to the fixation or in the arcuate region, we are definitely bothered about it. And if the degree of fall is statistically significant. These are three things which we have to answer. And we all have to remember the Anderson's criteria, which states that in two consecutive fields, location which is typical of glaucoma defect, a cluster of 3 or more non-edge points, which are all depressed to P less than 5%, one of which is depressed to P less than 1%, with a GHD outside normal limits with the PSD less than 5%. So these are all definitions of a glaucomatous visual field defect when you find in the printout. Now, the machine has a software which is known as a StatPack, and as you all computers, as you are aware now, that whatever you put into it is what you come out with, what comes out. So if you put in proper things, you'll get a decent report which you can interpret. So it will analyze certain conditions only. So test pattern is central 30-2, 24-2, 10-2. Stress strategies are CETA standard, CETA fast, fast pack, full threshold, and the stimulus size only size 3. Anything else, it may not analyze and give you a appropriate result. So when you see a visual field, you have certain zones. Zone 1 is the patient and the test data information. Zone 2 is foveal threshold and the liability indices. Zone 3 is the raw data. Zone 4 is the grayscale. Zone 5 is the total deviation plots. Zone 6 is the pattern deviation plots. And number 7, Zone 7 is global indices, and then glaucoma hemifield test. So patient identification is very important, especially the patient's name. More important is the date of birth also. And some centers, for example, like ours, we only use identification number because spelling mistakes can happen in patient's name every time they come back to the clinics. We use the identification number. And date of birth is very important because you have a age adjustment of the StatPack normative data. That means age matched output is given for the printout. And also, as we'll come to know a little later, age is important for optimizing the test conditions. Certain factors affect the test. So number 1 is the pupil size. A constricted pupil will give you a constricted visual field. Dilated will give you a depressed visual field. So appropriate pupil size is 3 to 4. Visual acuity, anybody who is not legally blind can do a visual field, but usually we recommend 6/60 as the lower end cutoff. People who are having less than 6/60 can do visual field testing with special adjustment in the machine. Stimulus size, Goldman size 3 is the standard. And the white color is the standard which we use. And stress strategy and pattern are all these which can be used, and you can get a good output from the machine. Refractive correction is very important because refractive blur reduces retinal sensitivity to perimetric stimuli. So trial lenses are used for clear vision in the central field, and 1 diopter refractive blur in undilated pupil will reduce by 1 decibel the hill of vision. Fixation target are usually central. You have other fixation target, for example, patients with macular pathology or people with patients with coloboma, retinofundal carcinoma can do a visual field also with the other fixation targets. Fixation monitor is done by 2 techniques. One is the gaze tracker, which is the dual variable gaze tracker, measures the gaze direction every time a stimulus is presented. So it's given as a strip of small upstrokes and downstrokes in the bottom of the visual field, and they are very precise. They can assess 1 degree of deviation from the fixation. And if there's a full scale error, for example, here you have a very high upstroke, that means more than 10 degrees of deviation has occurred. And lines which are shown as deflecting down shows that the instrument was unsuccessful in measuring gaze during that particular gaze direction. That means patient is either closed his eyes or removed the chin from the chin rest. So these are the indications which tell you how the patient has been performing the test throughout the test period. Fixation monitoring is again done by the Heel-Krakow method. So you have 5% of the stimuli which are presented to the blind spot. And if you see the image here, all the sizes of the stimuli are smaller than the blind spot. So they are designed in such a way that they fall within the blind spot. And in the visual field, grayscale, you have a small triangle which shows that this is the area which has been tested for the blind spot. Coming to a foveal threshold and reliable index. This is measured at the beginning of the test. That is, the foveal threshold is measured at the beginning of the test, and improper focusing by the patient reduces the foveal threshold along the remainder of the visual field. And it's very important to see the visual acuity and the foveal threshold. Anybody with 6/6 should have a foveal threshold better than 32 decibels. Other reliable indices which are very important are fixation losses, false positive and false negative errors. So for example, here you have a patient who has done a visual field and you have a high fixation losses. 4 out of 11. So it has been flagged. So this also shows as a low test reliability. And then this is the right eye the patient has done. Once he does the left eye, you find that he has done an improvement in the visual field. So this is also because of the learning effect which patient will have. Again, showing here, the fixation losses is very high, 6 out of 6. And you can see the patient has been roving his eyes all around. You can look at the gaze tracker. Sorry, false positives are very important reliability index. The CETA machine uses a reaction time window to calculate false positive. That is, the patient responses are made impossible or unlikely times. So that is what the machine tries to detect. So if the response is made just before or during the stimulus presentation or too soon after the stimulus presentation, machine calculates that as a false positive. That's why age comes into a factor here, mainly because elderly people will be slow to react, younger people will be fast to react. So taking into consideration patient reaction times measured during the test, same test. So this is how the false positives are defined by the machine and given as an output. And this is only done after the test is over. So during the test, you can, of course, encourage the patient to do better, but the analysis is done after the test is over. So here you have a very young patient, 10 years of age, and he has high false positives. That is 44%. And then you have white scotomas on the gray scale. And you also have, this is also known as a trigger happy patient. And if you have more than 15% false positive, the guided progression analysis, this is the serial examination of the visual field, this particular examination will be excluded from that analysis. This is something which you have to remember. So false negative response are again designed to measure inattention. They are designed to identify patients who have failed to respond to stimuli that they should have seen already. So 33% of that, if it crosses 33%, the machine will default, and the causes include inattentiveness, fatigue, and hypnosia. In advanced glaucoma, you will get high false negative, which is attributed to, again, fixation losses, and the pattern which you get is a clover leaf pattern. There's an 80-year-old person who has done the visual field in the right eye, and by the time he went on to do the left eye, he felt so fatigued that he has got high false negative of 13%. So elderly people may sleep off during the test at the end of the, when they start doing the second eye. You have to make sure that they do the second eye as good as the first eye. If the other eye is advanced, then you can always ask the patient to do the advanced eye first and then do the better eye little later. Test times are something which we have to remember. The CETA standard finishes the test in 7 minutes, CETA 24-2 in 7 minutes, CETA fast 24-2 in 5 minutes. If you do a 10-2, it's even earlier and shorter test periods. Raw data is very important. So it is the exact retinal sensitivity of the selected points, and you can always compare the threshold values in the upper arcuate area to the lower arcuate area for any pattern, because as we all know, glaucoma is primary glaucomas are a disease of asymmetry, not only asymmetry between the eyes, but asymmetry within the eye also. So for example, here you can find that the patient is actually, the visual field looks very good. It's a visual field index of 100%, mean deviation of plus 0.26, but you have an inferior RNFL small loss here, if you can make out in the fundus photograph, and in the sector map shows a defect. And this is corresponding to the nasal depression of 27 decibels, which you see in the upper area, whereas the other points are all above 32. So if you are keen to look at the visual field, you can pick up these subtle changes and also correlate them clinically. Grayscale helps you to identify gross, false negative, false positive, and also explain to the patient what exactly is the field defect. Total deviation plot means the degree of deviation of this patient's retinal sensitivity from the expected age-matched normal. So you have symbols which are assigned, and the pattern deviation plot is the decibel deviation from the total deviation numerical plot, which are altered in such a way that the mild to moderate degree of decibel deviations are eliminated. Only greater degree of decibel deviations are highlighted. So what it does is take the 7th best point is subtracted from all the values in the TDNP plot, and then a plot is generated. So if you look down here, the 7th best point is -2 in the lower field, and any value which is subtracted, so -5 minus 2 gives you -3, -6 minus 2 gives you -4. So like that, you get the pattern deviation numerical plot. And the PD plot will show localized depressions such as glaucoma and removes generalized depressions such as cataract and refractive error. PD plot is not generated if the mean deviation less than minus 20 decibels. Global indices are mean deviation, pattern standard deviation, visual field index. Mean deviation shows the age match deviation from normal. So it is center weighted. Normal values are plus minus 2 decibels. Very high values can also be got advanced field. And pattern standard deviation is, it summarizes the localized loss in a single index. So it's very useful for telling it a single value, what is the end result. So high PSD is moderate to advanced losses, you get high PSD, and low PSD values you can get in normal fields or uniformly depressed fields or blind fields. So what is the relation between the two is that what is the pattern of standard deviation around the mean deviation? This is what you have to understand. You can also correlate between the two. If the two maps look alike, little or no generalized depression. For example, here there is no generalized depression. Both the maps look alike. Depressed TD map with normal looking pattern deviation. So this looks like a depressed total deviation, whereas normal pattern. So this could be related to a media or refractive index related issue. A pattern deviation map worse than the TD map may be a trigger happy patient. For example, here you have a normal total deviation, whereas the pattern deviation is very depressed, and you have excessive high false positivity and a mean deviation of +7. And the GHT shows abnormally high sensitivity. Coming to GHT, this is nothing but the comparison of the, like I said, the asymmetry within the eye. So 5 zones are split in the visual field, and they compare to the reciprocal, the upper to the lower zones. And outside normal limit says is in the population is less than 1%. Borderline could be glaucoma suspects, which in the population 1 to 3%. And generalized reduction of sensitivity could be because of small pupil, refractive error, fatigue, and advanced glaucoma. Abnormally high sensitivity, like I showed you in the previous slide, a trigger happy patient, and a normal patient is fitting the Anderson's criteria for calling the patient as a normal. So visual field index is calculated as the percentage of normal visual field after age adjustment. This is also center weighted, just like the mean deviation, and correlates with the ganglion cells in the macula. So it's 100% in normal field and 0% in perimetric blind eyes. And the visual field index is calculated from the PD plot if the mean deviation is better than -20. If the mean deviation worse than -20, it is calculated from the total deviation plot. So this is how it is calculated. And you can see here in this example, the mean deviation is minus 0.77, whereas the visual field index is reduced by 8%. So although the mean deviation is normal, visual field index is center weighted, so it shows a 8% loss, close to 10% loss. Artifacts are important. You can get rim scotomas. So you find that the scotoma is marching behind the blind spot. Then you have artifacts related to ptosis and media opacity and the lens of the which you keep, it should be clean. All those things can also induce artifacts. And type of field defects, you have nasal step, biarcuate. You can have a nasal step which is peripheral, as well as a central nasal step, in which you have a Berum scotoma. And here you have a arcuate and a biarcuate scotomas. And you also have supposing you do a 24-2 and you find that this fixation is involved, then you do a 10-2, you find that the fixation is actually not involved. So in a 24-2, if you find that the fixation is involved, you should always do a 24-2. In certain conditions, you should also do a 10-2 along with a 24-2. And here you can find the fixation is involved, and when you do a 10-2, you find definitely that the fixation is involved. Macular split is when you have one quadrant with 0 decibels. Or across the quadrant, you have 2 points which are 0 decibels. So I'll stop here. Thank you for a patient listening.
Thank you, Ganesh. I really envy you. You had to constrict a 2-hour lecture into 15-20 minutes, but beautifully done. I think you have covered practically all the points. Would you like to give just 3-4 pearls to a person who are not doing it too often, that whenever they take the patient for the fields, what really things they should look before?
I think before you even take the patient for field, you should do a thorough clinical examination. You must anticipate what is going to be the test results. So there's a pre-test probability. So like I showed in the image, you see the RNFL defect, subtle, and then do the visual field. Look for it. Look for that finding in that. When you order the field, make sure the same order it comes back to you. Don't order 24-2 Sita standard and then it comes back to you as a 24-2 Sita fast. And elderly patients, when you start doing, make sure that they're comfortable. If you have a series of visual fields of 24-2 CETA standard, you can convert them to a CETA fast later on, but sufficient number of fields you should have. What you give into the machine is what comes out of it. So that's something which you have to really understand.
That's very nice saying. Yes. And be very careful. Please check the pupil. Please check the refraction. Please check there is no ptosis. And be careful about the knurling defects. If you go tomorrow into the practice, please, you must know that you will have to redo some of the fields. So don't worry about that. If you feel there are slightest changes in the macular field, then you may have to go for 24-2C or a 10-2 field also. So thank you very much, guys.